Let's start by taking a look at the Bureau of Labor Statistics for Technical Writers. This makes no sense to me, but they say the job outlook from 2023 to 2033 is growing at a rate of 4%, which is as fast as average. The number of jobs in 2023 was 50,100. Now, I do want to say, in my bubble of the world, all of us only have so much we can see. Take what I'm about to say with that context in mind. I've built up a pretty large network over my 20 years in software. I've worked for big companies. I've worked in a company that we took public. I've worked with teams of tech writers that were as large as 20 or 30 people. What I'm seeing is more and more of them getting shifted out of their role, laid off, or when they leave, they're not hiring to replace them. And if you take a look at some of the other articles, you see stuff like this from Fluid Topics. In short, no AI will not replace technical writers. You're seeing stuff like this pop up. But then you're also seeing things like this article where the technical writer has died. Long live the LLM. And I think the truth is somewhere in between both of these things. I don't think people really understand the power of what you can do with generative AI with technical documentation. Think about it just here for a second. If I go back 3 years, I worked with technical writers on every feature we built. So I would like to think about it like this. So imagine you are putting together this very complex piece of furniture. You've got all these pieces laying all over. But you have a document there that is 500 pages long, and you have to kind of work through to try to figure out how that furniture goes together. You're definitely not going to get that put together, or it's going to take you a very long time. What technical writing really involved is creating this incredibly easy to understand documentation that helps users understand systems that are way more complex than they would normally be able to understand. You could think of things like software guides, user manuals, configuration guides. In fact, in the last company I worked at, what they would do is they typically split into two groups. They'd have a how to use and a how to configure. Now, we worked in financial institutions. So in financial institutions, you can imagine banks, they've got incredibly complex systems. These systems, are used in some of the biggest banks in the entire world. And they all operate very differently from one another. So on the how to configure side, the goal is you have to make these systems work so they can adapt to this huge range of like what a bank does. And that was what a technical writer did. And they're still doing that. I don't want to say they're gone yet. But what I've seen is a massive shift from technical writing to using generative AI to make product documentation. It's really no secret that AI is going to replace jobs. Heck, it's probably going to replace my engineering job one day. But my goal is to stay ahead of the curve as much as I can and become more of a product engineer than I have ever been in my entire life. I don't hear many people talking about how much technical writing has been impacted, but I think it is one of the very first to fall. It's kind of like the canary in the coal mine. I'm already seeing it with people that I know looking for work or having to shift careers. So today I own a small company. We have a few engineers. We're not big in any way. So this is a little bit of a tangent. But how do we generate product documentation? We build a feature or we change a feature, update a feature. We record whatever 2 to 3 to 5 minute video. We transcribe it, give it to have a template that we feed into the generative AI and tell it to make documentation for us. And it works incredibly well. We maybe have to tweak a few things. Some tools, even like Loom and we use Slack, will actually transcribe it for you automatically. So my current workflow is I will use Slack video, do a walkthrough, take the transcription, put it into Claude or ChatGPT, whichever one that you want to use, and I'll ask it to generate it into the product documentation format that I want. And it's done. Like, absolutely done. That's a world different from what tech writers used to do, where they would have to understand the intricate details of the system Imagine being a tech writer on a system that has to configure all of these thousands of things to make this software work for this giant bank. Now, like, you could go do that in a few minutes of time. Like, imagine that. You've got a person that had to understand the intricacies of that product. Then they had to go and write it in a way that's easy for someone else to understand. And then they have to make it so easy to understand that a non-technical person can actually pick it up and make heads or tails of what it means. The trick, in my mind, is going to be just this collapse of roles. Over the years, we've had new roles pop up. If you go back 30 years, a lot of times it was just an engineer working on something. And you added product managers, you got scrum masters, you got designers, you got tech writers, you've got QA. I think we're in this collapse of roles. So if you're a technical writer and you still want to be in software, what I see as your only choice is to learn how to be a product engineer. You're poised really well for it, to be honest. You're poised in a way that you already understand the intricacies of product, and you can take this technical understanding and you know how to translate it to really easy to understand English, which is what LLMs actually are good at. And if you do want to get more technical, I have an affiliate link below from Scrimba, which is like one of my favorite tools that I've used, and I've actually had my kids use it as well to actually learn some of the technical intricacies. I was so blown away by how smooth that experience is. I had to work with them when they offered. Definitely worth giving it a go, but there are also other services out there. You could learn with YouTube videos. You could find books to actually advance. Heck, we have LLMs now. You could use an LLM to help you make a course. I will just say though, that focus sometimes helps. It depends on how you are as a person. If you really like this broad scope and you like to build your own plan, I say go for it. But really, I only see one option long term, and that's you have to become a product engineer because these roles are going to collapse into that. So let me just stop right here and show a cut of me doing this exact process. All right, so I'm going to kick this off here. So I've recorded about a 5-minute video of me going through one of the features that I actually built out. We've actually released at my main company recently called AI segmentation. I did a quick walkthrough of it. You can tell some of the spelling's wrong from Whisper, but usually Claude's pretty good at actually fixing that. So let's go ahead and kick this off. I did tell it it's an expert technical writer. Take this transcript and turn it into product documentation. Honestly, what I should probably do is say how to use. And I just noted that there are more signals than what I actually called. It is important to say kind of how to configure how to use. In this case, it's a user document that I actually want. So you can see here, it actually talks about navigating the far left sidebar. Yeah, yep, this is great. Perfect. It even talks about hitting the 4 steps. So I have like this data component or this kind of like progress component, and it tells you like where you are in the 4 steps. It picked that up perfectly. It's got some pre-built segments that I talked about. It talked about the real-time metrics that we do and the machine learning signals and how to actually combine them together. Amazing. It's just really, really good. Dang, I mean, honestly, isn't that cool? Like, something that I used to dread, I don't even mind anymore. Like, I use it for technical documentation now. I use it for developer documentation now. I use it for user documentation now. Honestly, generative AI has just changed the way we document software. Before I close out, I do want to call out one thing. I almost wonder if documentation as a whole will go away. We use documentation because that is what humans are used to. We're used to looking things up. But I think over the next few years, we're going to be more used to actually talking to an LLM. Maybe what ends up happening is there is no documentation anymore. We just talk to an LLM about the product. There's an LLM that just sits with every product, some small LLM that's just a master of everything that product can do. How do I configure XYZ? I want to do this. And it's trained on all that. It knows that information. I think it has to be more than retrieval augmented generation or RAG, or that needs to get a lot better. And instead, I think what'll happen is we'll probably have like really just nicely fine-tuned models that you can have a conversation with. So I think we've got this really interesting journey that we're on. We're going from tech writers doing all this documentation to tech writers not really being as actively utilized anymore to generative AI trying to generate that same documentation. Over time, I think technical writers become less and less and less, and product engineers become more and more. And then what ends up happening is documentation isn't needed anymore because we figure out a way to use an LLM to basically replace all of that. So we record that video with that transcript, we drop it somewhere, and that just gets fed into its system. And so anytime that a release goes out, an LLM is like, bloop, trained, and we're good to go. Isn't that interesting to think about? It's like absolutely mind blowing to me. All right, so in conclusion, the landscape's changing a lot, but I do think you have options. Check out that link below. You can 100%, I think, get ahead of this. We have a little bit of time, not a lot of time, but we have a little bit of time. But if you found this video helpful, or if you have ideas or things that you've seen, please let me know in the comments below. Until next time, guys.